Turns out, family loyalty expires faster than the Greek yogurt in my fridge when your twin sister decides your husband makes excellent genetic material for her future spawn. My mother calling during my Tuesday morning hot yoga class in downtown Boulder should have been my first clue that my life was about to become a dumpster fire you can see from space. Mom doesn't do spontaneous calls unless someone's dead, dying, or about to ruin Thanksgiving. Her voice had that specific tremor that women get right before they deliver absolutely devastating news while pretending they're being helpful. "Joelle, sweetie, listen to me very carefully." She was using her, "I'm about to ruin your entire existence, but I need you to stay calm" voice. "Don't fight with Dean today. He's going to tell you something terrible, but I made him promise to wait until you were ready." I'm Joelle Brennan, 29 years old, freelance graphic designer who was literally in downward dog position trying to find my inner peace when my mother decided to absolutely destroy it. I'd been married to Dean for 5 years. 5 years of meal prepping his protein bowls, listening to him explain the benefits of Bulgarian split squats, and pretending I cared about his gym's new equipment upgrades. "Ready for what?" I whispered into my phone, crouched in the studio bathroom while my yoga instructor probably thought I had the world's longest bladder situation. "Just be kind to him today. He's struggling with this too." She hung up. My mother actually hung up after that cryptic nightmare of a conversation. I drove home from yoga doing that thing where you're gripping the steering wheel so hard your knuckles turn white, mentally cataloging every possible disaster. Cancer? Job loss? Secret gambling addiction? Maybe he'd crashed my car and was afraid to tell me. The reality was so much worse it would have been funny if it wasn't my life. Dean was home early, which never happened. Personal trainers don't skip afternoon sessions unless something catastrophic is happening. He was sitting on our beige sectional, the one we'd spent 3 weekends arguing about at 3 different furniture stores, looking like a man about to confess to war crimes. "We need to talk," he said, patting the cushion next to him. Those 4 words. The 4 words that have never, in the history of human relationships, preceded good news. Nobody ever says, "We need to talk," before announcing they won a lottery or found a perfect puppy. I sat down. He took my hands. His palms were sweating, which I noticed in that weird, hyper-aware way you notice completely irrelevant details when your brain knows something terrible is coming but hasn't processed what yet. "Your mom thought I should wait, but..." He took this dramatic breath like he was about to free dive without oxygen. "Gemma's pregnant. 3 months. The baby's mine. I want you to understand something about this moment. Time didn't slow down. I didn't see my life flash before my eyes. What actually happened was my brain just blue-screened. Like when your computer freezes and you can see the cursor, but nothing responds no matter how many times you click. Gemma, my twin sister. Fraternal, thank God, because I couldn't handle looking exactly like the woman who'd been sleeping with my husband. Gemma, who lived 2 streets over in her cute craftsman bungalow. Gemma, who had keys to my house for emergencies. Gemma, who showed up every Sunday for family dinner and complimented my roasted vegetables while apparently having my husband's child growing inside her. How long? My voice sounded weird, distant, like someone else was asking through a speaker. 6 months. It just happened, Joe. We didn't plan this. 6 months, half a year. While I was landing my biggest design contract, stressing about our mortgage refinance, planning our anniversary trip to Napa Valley, my husband and my sister were having their own little arrangement. The affair was older than her pregnancy. That math did compute, unfortunately. "Why are you telling me now?" I asked, because my brain was latching onto logistics instead of the screaming emotional void opening up in my chest. "Because Gemma wants to announce it at Christmas. The whole family. She's excited about the baby, and she wants everyone to know." He said this like it was reasonable. Like my sister planning to announce her pregnancy with my husband's child at our family's Christmas gathering was just a scheduling conflict we needed to work around. And Mom knew. Gemma told her last week. She needed money for prenatal appointments and it came out. "Your mom made me promise to wait. Said you were stressed about that tech startup contract and you needed to be in a better headspace." My mother, who'd called me this morning with her cryptic warning, who'd decided that my mental readiness for discovering my husband and sister's betrayal was something she could schedule around my work projects. Like this was a dentist appointment we could reschedule for a more convenient devastation slot. Get out, I said. Joe, please, we need to figure out. Get out. I stood up. Go stay with your parents, or Gemma, or literally anyone who isn't me. I need you out of this house in the next hour. He started to argue, actually tried to negotiate his timeline for leaving. I walked to our bedroom, grabbed his gym bag from the closet, and started throwing his stuff in it. Protein powder, workout clothes, his collection of resistance bands. All of it went into that bag like I was playing the world's most therapeutic game of basketball. Dean left. I heard his truck pull out of our driveway, and then I did something that surprised me. I didn't cry. I didn't break down. I didn't call my best friend or post a cryptic quote on Instagram or do any of the things you're supposed to do when your life implodes. Instead, I opened my laptop. I pulled up every shared account, every piece of technology in our house that might have evidence. Dean wasn't smart enough to hide his tracks properly. Personal trainers rarely are. They're used to people admiring them, not investigating them. I found his old iPad in the bedroom closet, the one he'd claimed had stopped working about 6 months ago, but was actually just hidden under a pile of winter sweaters. It powered on immediately. Full battery, recently charged, and absolutely full of messages between him and Gemma. There were ultrasound photos, plans for telling the family, discussions about whether the baby would have his eyes or her nose, my sister discussing my husband's genetic contribution to her child like they were planning a renovation project. His Google Maps timeline, synced to our shared family account that we'd set up years ago for safety and he'd apparently forgotten about, showed regular stops at her house. 47 visits in 6 months. I counted. I made a spreadsheet because apparently when your world falls apart, you cope by organizing data. I found a lawyer before dinner. Not just any lawyer. Catherine Morrison, the divorce attorney my coworker had used when her husband decided to trade her in for a yoga instructor. The universe really does have a sick sense of humor. Catherine's consultation rate was $300 per hour, and I booked her first available appointment. By the time the sun set over the Flatirons, I had a plan. Not revenge, not yet, but something better. Documentation, evidence, a strategy. Because here's what Dean and Gemma didn't understand. I'm a designer. I think in systems, in processes, in careful execution of complex plans. They thought they were dealing with a heartbroken wife who'd fall apart and make this messy and emotional. They had no idea what was coming. Catherine Morrison's office smelled like expensive leather and broken marriages. She had this look, late 40s, perfectly tailored suit, the kind of calculated competence that comes from dismantling men's lives for a living. I liked her immediately. Let me get this straight, Catherine said, reviewing my documentation on her MacBook. Your twin sister is pregnant with your husband's baby. Your mother knew about it. And they were planning to announce this at Christmas dinner like it's a gender reveal party? That's the summary, yes. And you've been married 5 years, no children. Colorado is an equitable distribution state, and you have documented evidence of the affair. She wasn't asking. She was mentally calculating billable hours and Dean's future financial suffering. This is going to be extremely straightforward, Joelle. Almost boring, legally speaking. Boring. My marriage ending was legally boring. Somehow that felt perfect. I want the house, I said, and I want this done as fast as legally possible. I don't want to sit through one more holiday dinner pretending I'm part of this family. Consider it done. Colorado allows no-fault divorce, but adultery definitely helps with asset division. We'll file immediately, serve him by Friday, and push for the earliest possible hearing. With documentation this thorough, he'll be motivated to settle quickly. I left her office feeling something I hadn't expected. Powerful, not broken, not devastated. Powerful. Like I'd been playing defense my entire marriage and finally realized I could just stop. My phone buzzed. Dean, texting from wherever he'd slithered off to. Can we talk? I'm staying at my parents' place. I think we should try counseling. Counseling. The man who'd spent 6 months having an affair with my sister thought we should try counseling. Like our problem was communication issues and not the fact that he'd impregnated my sibling. I didn't respond. Instead, I did something petty and therapeutic. I changed all our streaming passwords. Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Disney Plus, every single one. Dean lived for his post-workout binge sessions. Let him explain to his parents why he couldn't watch his beloved Marvel shows anymore. Then Gemma called. I stared at her name on my screen. The contact photo was from last summer. Both of us at a Broncos game, wearing matching jerseys, arms around each other, smiling like sisters who actually liked each other. I'd taken 50 photos that day trying to get the perfect one for Instagram. The caption had been something nauseatingly sweet about twin connection. I answered, because sometimes you need to hear the audacity in real time to fully appreciate how spectacularly people can disappoint you. Joe, please don't hate me. Her voice was already doing that quivery thing she'd perfected in middle school when she wanted sympathy. This wasn't supposed to happen. Which part? The 6-month affair or the pregnancy? I know you're angry. Angry? I laughed. Actually laughed. The sound surprised me. Gemma, angry is what I get when someone cuts me off in traffic. This is something else entirely. This is fascinating. Like watching a nature documentary where the predator doesn't even realize it's hunting in its own family's territory. It wasn't like that. Dean and we connected. You're always working, always focused on your clients, and he felt neglected. Oh, wonderful. So this is my fault for having a career. Got it. Really appreciate you taking one for the team by sleeping with my husband while I was busy paying our mortgage. You're being cruel. And you're being pregnant with my husband's baby. So I think we're operating in different moral universes here, Gemma. Silence. Then, Mom thinks we should all sit down together. Work through this as a family. There it was. The real reason for the call. Mom had deployed Gemma as her emotional proxy because she was too cowardly to call herself. Let me make something very clear, I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. I've filed for divorce. And that family dinner you're planning? The big announcement? I won't be there. Neither will my name on the guest list for any future family gathering you attend. So you can tell Mom she needs to pick which daughter she wants at Thanksgiving, the one who respected family boundaries or the one who treated them like a suggestion. You can't make Mom choose between us. Watch me. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from sadness. From pure, distilled rage wrapped in this weird exhilaration. I'd spent 29 years being the responsible twin, the one who didn't make waves, who showed up early, who remembered birthdays and brought the requested side dish to family dinners. Gemma had always been the free spirit, which was family code for selfish, but we're going to pretend it's charming. Well, this free spirit had finally flown too close to someone else's son. I spent the next 2 days doing something I'd never done before. I weaponized social media. Not by posting anything. That would have been tacky. No, I did something more strategic. I unfollowed Gemma, untagged myself from every photo with her, removed her from my close friends' story list, changed my relationship status to single. The Boulder social scene is small when you're a freelancer who works with local businesses. Within 24 hours, 3 different clients had casually asked if everything was okay. My yoga instructor sent a concerned DM. Dean's gym apparently had a full-blown gossip session in the staff room because his coworker's wife texted me asking if I needed anything. I didn't respond to any of it. Silence, I was learning, was its own form of power. Then my mother called. Joelle Marie Brennan, what is this nonsense about making me choose between my daughters? Middle name deployment. The nuclear option of maternal disappointment. It's not nonsense, Mom. It's reality. I'm not sitting at a table with someone who slept with my husband. And if you think that's unreasonable, then I guess we know where your priorities are. She's your sister. She made a mistake. A 6-month mistake that resulted in a pregnancy. That's not a mistake. That's a relationship. And you knew about it. You could have told me, given me a heads up, let me prepare. But instead, you coached Dean on timing his confession around my work schedule, like this was a project management issue. I was trying to protect you. No, I said, feeling something click into place. You were trying to protect yourself, because if I'd found out earlier, I would have made it messy. And you hate mess. You've always hated mess. That's why Gemma gets away with everything, because holding her accountable would be uncomfortable for you. She was crying now. The manipulative kind of crying that mothers do when they're losing an argument and need to reclaim moral high ground through tears. I'm done being uncomfortable so everyone else can be comfortable, I said. File that under things I should have said 20 years ago. I hung up. 2 family members down. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Dean. The gym is asking questions. Can you please not tell people specifics? It's affecting my reputation. His reputation. His reputation. The man who'd impregnated his wife's sister was worried about his reputation at the gym where he told people to do burpees. I screenshot the message. Sent it to Catherine with a note. Exhibit C. More evidence he cares about appearances than consequences. She responded immediately. Beautiful. Keep them coming. Men always tell on themselves. That's when I realized something that would have been funny if it wasn't my life. I was documenting my way through grief. Every text, every call, every attempt at manipulation. I was turning it into evidence. Not just for court, for myself. So I could look back and remember I wasn't crazy, wasn't cruel, wasn't the villain in this story. I was just the one who finally stopped pretending dysfunction was normal. And the best part? It was only Thursday. Dean would be served with divorce papers tomorrow. The real show hadn't even started yet. Friday arrived with Dean's divorce papers, and a discovery that made the affair look almost quaint by comparison. I was going through our joint bank statements, because apparently when your life explodes, you develop a sudden passion for forensic accounting. When I noticed something interesting, for the past 8 months, Dean had been transferring $1,000 every 2 weeks into an account I didn't recognize. 8 months. 2 months before the affair supposedly started. I called Catherine immediately. He's been moving money, I said, pulling up transaction after transaction on my laptop. Consistently, into an account ending in 4739. I don't have access to it. How much total? I calculated quickly. $16,000. Maybe more if there are cash withdrawals I haven't spotted yet. Catherine made a sound that I can only describe as predatory satisfaction. That's financial planning, Joelle. That's not a man who accidentally fell into an affair. That's a man who was building an exit strategy. The pieces clicked together with that satisfying sound Legos make when they finally connect properly. Dean hadn't confessed because he felt guilty. He'd confessed because Gemma forced his hand with her Christmas announcement plan. He'd been preparing to leave, probably right after the holidays when my big tech contract would be finished, and I'd have money in the bank he could claim in the divorce. Can we use this? I asked. Oh, honey, we're absolutely going to use this. Dissipation of marital assets. He's been systematically hiding money during the marriage. In Colorado, that doesn't just affect division, it affects everything. I spent the weekend doing what I do best, research. I pulled every receipt, every credit card statement, every Venmo transaction. Dean wasn't as careful as he thought. There were charges at Gemma's neighborhood Target, dinner receipts from restaurants near her house, a particularly damning purchase at a baby store in Denver, dated 6 weeks ago, before he'd confessed anything to me. But the real jackpot came from somewhere unexpected. LinkedIn. Dean had updated his profile. Recently, his relationship status was hidden, and he'd added a new skill, family planning and life transition support, like he was some kind of life coach specializing in blowing up marriages. His summary now read, dedicated to helping individuals navigate major life changes with strength and authenticity. The audacity. The man was rebranding his affair as a personal growth journey. I screenshot everything, sent it to Catherine with a message. Pretty sure life transition support isn't supposed to include impregnating your wife's sister. Her response, I'm adding this to the folder labeled, Why Men Shouldn't Have Internet Access During Divorces. That's when inspiration hit. If Dean wanted to rebrand, I could help him with that. I called my mother. She answered on the first ring, which told me she'd been hovering over her phone waiting for me to crack. Joelle, sweetheart, I'm so glad you called. I want to have a family dinner, I interrupted. Next Saturday, just immediate family. You, me, Gemma, Dean. A reconciliation dinner. Silence. Then suspiciously, Really? Really? I've been thinking about what you said, about family, and maybe we can work through this. Talk it out like adults. I injected just enough hesitation into my voice to sound believable. Joelle? Her voice carried doubt. You were so angry when we last spoke. This seems very sudden. I've been talking to a therapist, Mom, working through my feelings. She thinks it would be healthy for me to face this directly in a controlled environment, to get closure. The therapy lie was perfect. My mother loved the idea of me being in therapy. It meant I was being reasonable. Oh, sweetheart, I'm so proud of you for doing that work. This is so mature of you. I'll host. My house, 7 p.m. Tell Gemma and Dean. And Mom? Tell them to come ready to talk. Really talk. About everything. I could hear her relief through the phone. She thought she'd won. That maternal manipulation had finally worked. That I'd chosen peace over justice. She had no idea. After I hung up, I texted Catherine. Family dinner scheduled. Saturday, 7 p.m. We'll need final divorce papers ready to serve. You're serving him at a reconciliation dinner? I'm serving them all some reality. Can you have everything ready? I'm starting to think I should charge you less because this is the most fun I've had in years. The next 5 days were a masterclass in performance art. I responded to Dean's texts with measured, thoughtful messages about needing time to process and willing to talk. I sent Gemma a carefully worded email about sisterly bonds and finding a path forward. I told my mother I'd been doing a lot of soul-searching, and therapy is really helping me see things differently. They believed every word because they wanted to, because in their minds, I was predictable, the responsible one, the peacemaker, the woman who'd swallow her pride to keep the family intact. Meanwhile, I was busy doing something they'd never suspect. I'd hired a private investigator, not a fancy one from the movies, but a retired cop named Rita who did contract work and charged reasonable rates. I gave her the address of Dean's secret account bank, Gemma's schedule, and 48 hours. By Thursday of the following week, exactly 1 week after I'd set the plan in motion, Rita called with her report. Your sister and your husband have been looking at houses together, she said without preamble. 3-bedroom places in Superior. That's the Boulder-adjacent suburb with good schools. They've been touring properties for weeks. I've got fresh photos from their most recent visit, Tuesday morning, holding hands like they're already planning their future. They were house shopping. While I was supposedly processing our separation, they were planning their Pinterest-perfect future together. Probably imagining Sunday morning pancakes and backyard birthday parties, and all the suburban dreams they'd build on the ashes of my marriage. I need those photos, I said. Already in your email, along with the real estate agent's contact information. Thought you might want to give her a heads up that one of her clients is still currently married. I loved Rita. Saturday arrived with that perfect Colorado fall weather. Crisp air, golden aspens, the kind of day that makes people think everything is beautiful and possible. I spent the morning cleaning my house until it looked like something from a home magazine. I bought an expensive bottle of wine. I made a cheese board that could have been featured on Instagram. I even bought flowers. White roses, the kind you send to funerals. Catherine showed up at 6:30 with a leather portfolio containing the divorce papers, the financial evidence, the photos from Rita, and a professional process server she'd convinced to come along. You know this is completely extra, right? Catherine said, arranging papers on my kitchen counter. I've been the reasonable one for 29 years, I replied, checking my reflection in the hallway mirror. I'm allowed one dramatic gesture. Just one? Okay, maybe several, but this is the main event. My mother arrived first, clutching a store-bought pie like it was a peace offering. Then Gemma, wearing a loose sweater that strategically showcased her tiny baby bump. Finally, Dean, looking uncomfortable in a button-down shirt he definitely didn't own 6 months ago. Gemma must have bought it for him. How domestic. Thank you all for coming, I said, gesturing them into my living room. The living room I'd decorated, in the house I'd helped buy, filled with furniture I'd chosen. I think it's time we all got on the same page about the future. My mother beamed. Gemma looked cautiously hopeful. Dean just looked relieved. They had no idea the page I was talking about was the first one of their divorce papers. I let them settle in, poured wine, offered cheese, watched them navigate the awkward small talk of people who'd collectively destroyed my life, but were pretending we could all be civilized about it. So, my mother said, using her facilitator voice like she was moderating a PTA meeting, I think we should start by everyone sharing their feelings. Actually, Mom, I'd like to start with facts. I pulled out my laptop, set it on the coffee table facing them, because feelings are complicated, but facts are beautifully simple. Dean shifted uncomfortably. Gemma's hand instinctively went to her stomach, that universal protective gesture pregnant women do when they sense danger. Joelle, if this is about blame, my mother started, It's about timeline, I interrupted. See, Dean told me the affair started 6 months ago, that it just happened. Very spontaneous, very unplanned. I clicked to my first slide. Yes, I'd made a presentation, because if I was going to detonate my family, I was going to do it with visual aids. But here's something interesting. 8 months ago, Dean opened a separate bank account, and every 2 weeks since then, he's transferred $1,000 into it. I watched Dean's face drain of color in real time. It was magnificent. That's $16,000 of marital assets, systematically hidden, starting 2 months before you claim the affair began. I advanced to the next slide showing bank statements with highlighted transactions. Which means either you're terrible at math or you're a liar. I'm betting on option 2. That money was for, Dean started. For what? Your future love nest with my sister? Because that's exactly what it's for. Next slide. Photos of Dean and Gemma at open houses in Superior. Rita. She's a private investigator. Lovely woman. Very thorough. Got these last Tuesday. That's you and Gemma touring 3-bedroom houses, with good school districts, while I was supposedly processing our separation. Gemma made a sound like a small animal caught in a trap. But wait, it gets better. I was enjoying this now, the shock on their faces, the way my mother's pie was sitting forgotten on her lap. Dean, I noticed you updated your LinkedIn profile. Life transition support? Really? Is that what we're calling adultery in the professional development world now? Joelle, please. Gemma tried. Oh, I'm not done with you yet, sis. Let's talk about timeline inconsistencies. You're 3 months pregnant. Dean says the affair started 6 months ago. But I found receipts from that baby boutique in Denver, the one with the overpriced organic onesies, dated 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks? That's before Dean confessed anything. Which means you two were shopping for baby clothes while actively lying to me. I pulled out the receipts. Actual printed evidence. Because nothing says I've got receipts, like literally having receipts. My mother finally found her voice. Joelle, I understand you're hurt, but this isn't productive, mature, what you hoped would happen at this reconciliation dinner. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Here's the thing, Mom. There is no reconciliation. There never was. This dinner? This was about making sure you all understood exactly what you destroyed and exactly what it's going to cost. That's when Catherine walked in from the kitchen where she'd been waiting, followed by the professional process server she'd brought. Dean Brennan? The server said formally, stepping forward with official documents. You've been served. He handed Dean the divorce papers with the practiced efficiency of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. Catherine stood beside him, documenting everything. Dean just sat there holding the documents like they were written in a language he didn't understand. Those papers outline the divorce terms, I explained helpfully. Because of your dissipation of marital assets, that's legal speak for hiding money, I'm getting the house, the car, and 60% of all remaining joint assets. You'll also be paying my legal fees, all of them. You can't, Dean started. I can. I did. Colorado's really clear about financial infidelity. Catherine explained it beautifully. Something about judges not appreciating husbands who create secret nest eggs while their wives are working to pay the mortgage. I turned to Gemma. Speaking of which, those houses you were touring? I called the real estate agent. Told her one of her clients was still legally married and hiding marital assets. She was very appreciative of the heads up. Apparently, she doesn't like being an accessory to financial fraud. Gemma's face went from pale to green. Morning sickness or moral reckoning, hard to tell. And Mom, I said, turning to face the woman who'd birthed me 29 years ago. Remember when you made me choose between being the bigger person or being honest? I'm choosing honest. Gemma is no longer my sister. Dean is no longer my husband. And you need to decide right now which daughter you want in your life, because you're not getting both. You can't make me. I can. I am. Thanksgiving is 6 weeks away. Christmas is in 2 months. You can have me there, or you can have Gemma and her new blended family situation. But you don't get both. You don't get to play happy family while pretending this didn't happen. The silence was deafening. Dean was still staring at the divorce papers. Gemma was crying. The messy, snotty kind of crying that isn't cute or sympathetic. My mother looked like someone had just told her the world was ending. Maybe her world was. Mine had ended 2 weeks ago. Fair's fair. I have one more thing, I said, pulling out my phone. I documented everything. Every text, every lie, every manipulation. And I'm keeping it all. Not to post. I'm not that person. But if any of you try to spin this story, if you tell people I was the problem, if you paint yourselves as victims of my cruelty, I will release everything. Every message, every receipt, every photo of you house hunting while playing the repentant sinner. I looked at each of them in turn. This is the part where you leave, I said quietly. And you don't come back. Not for forgotten belongings. Not for closure conversations. Not for anything. Catherine will handle all communication with Dean. Gemma, you have my email if there's a genuine emergency. And no, needing emotional support doesn't count. Mom, you have until Monday to decide. Text me your choice. No phone calls, no explanations. Just which daughter you're picking. Dean stood first, still clutching the papers like a life preserver. Gemma followed, her hand protectively on her stomach. My mother took the longest. She kept looking at me like she was waiting for me to crack, to break character, to become the daughter she recognized. I didn't. They left. I watched them walk to their cars through my front window, watched Dean's truck taillights disappear, watched Gemma's little Honda pull away, watched my mother sit in her Subaru for 10 minutes before finally driving off. Catherine put her hand on my shoulder. You know the legal community is going to talk about this dinner for years, right? Good, I said. Let them. Maybe it'll inspire someone else to stop being polite and start being honest. The process server and Catherine packed up their things, wished me well, and left together. I stood in my living room, my house that I was keeping, that was legally mine now, and felt something unexpected. Peace. Not happiness yet. Not quite. But peace. The kind that comes from finally stopping the pretense. From choosing truth over comfort. From realizing that some things can't be fixed and shouldn't be. Some things just need to end. Monday arrived with a text from my mother at 6 a.m. I choose you. 3 words. No explanation, no apology. Just a decision delivered like a weather update. I didn't respond immediately. Let her sit with that choice. Wonder if I'd accept it. Experience a fraction of the uncertainty she'd put me through when she chose to protect Gemma's secret instead of giving me the truth. By Monday afternoon, I sent back, Thanksgiving at my place. Just us. Bring wine, not pie. The divorce was finalized 92 days later. Exactly 1 day after Colorado's mandatory waiting period, which Catherine called impressively efficient, given how backed up the courts typically are. Turns out judges really don't appreciate men who systematically hide marital assets while planning their exit strategy. Dean got to keep his truck, his gym clothes, and a debt to me that would take him years to pay off. The house, the savings, the good furniture, all mine. Gemma had her baby in April, a boy. She sent me a birth announcement like we were distant acquaintances exchanging polite life updates. I didn't respond. Some bridges aren't worth rebuilding. They're better off as cautionary tales about structural integrity. Dean moved in with Gemma 2 months after the divorce. They lasted 8 months before he moved out. Apparently, sleep deprivation and baby screaming reveal character flaws that candle-lit dinners successfully hide. I heard through Boulder's incredibly efficient gossip network that he'd started dating one of his training clients. A pattern is just a pattern until it becomes a personality. His gym quietly asked him to resign after too many clients requested different trainers. Turns out people don't love getting fitness advice from someone whose life choices scream poor judgment. He's working at a corporate gym chain now. The kind with fluorescent lighting and protein shake machines that always break. Gemma still lives 2 streets away. We've crossed paths exactly 3 times in the grocery store. Each time, she's attempted a smile that I've met with the kind of polite nod you give strangers. My mother attends some events with her. Birthdays for the baby, I assume, but she's learned not to mention them to me. We've found our rhythm. Thanksgiving and Christmas with me. Everything else with Gemma. It's not ideal for her, but then again, raising one daughter who respects boundaries while the other collects other people's husbands probably wasn't her ideal either. My business tripled after the divorce. Something about surviving public family implosion makes you very appealing to clients who want branding that's authentic. I hired 2 contractors, raised my rates, and stopped apologizing for charging what I'm worth. Turns out, when you stop accepting disrespect in your personal life, you stop accepting it professionally too. Who knew? I'm dating now. Casually. A software developer named Miles who thinks my family drama is intense but respectable. He has no siblings, both parents are happily married, and his idea of conflict is disagreeing about pizza toppings. It's boring in the best possible way. Catherine and I meet for coffee once a month. She calls it professional development. I call it friendship with someone who's seen you at your most vindictive and still likes you. She's helped 3 other women in Boulder with similar situations. We joke that I started a movement. The Stop Being Polite and Start Getting Equity movement. People ask me if I regret how I handled things, if the dinner confrontation was too harsh, if I should have been more forgiving. I tell them the same thing every time. I spent 5 years being accommodating, being flexible, being the bigger person. All it got me was a smaller life. Here's what nobody tells you about betrayal. It's not the affair that breaks you. It's the realization that people you trusted saw you as an obstacle to their happiness instead of a person deserving honesty. Dean didn't just cheat, he planned. Gemma didn't just make a mistake. She made a choice. My mother didn't just delay telling me. She prioritized everyone's comfort over my right to truth. The dinner wasn't revenge. It was the bill coming due. And I'm not sorry I made them pay it. Sometimes people say I'm bitter. I prefer accurately calibrated to reality. Bitterness is when you can't move forward. I bought new furniture, repainted the bedroom, started a garden in the backyard that's thriving in ways my marriage never did. I'm not stuck in the past. I just remember it clearly enough not to repeat it. My house is mine. My business is thriving. My mother learned that access to me requires respecting my boundaries. And somewhere in Superior, Colorado, my ex-husband is learning that the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's just different grass that also requires maintenance he's not willing to do. As for Gemma, she got exactly what she wanted. Dean and a baby. What she didn't get was the fairy tale ending where everyone forgives her and we all play happy family. Turns out actions have consequences. Who knew that was still a thing? I'm 29 years old, divorced, thriving, and finally, living a life where the only person I have to accommodate is myself. And that's not bitter. That's freedom with a side of well-earned sarcasm.